My name is Vaibhav. I'm from Parel, Mumbai. I have almost 16 to 18 years. I even forgot the count of the years I've experienced. And I started my journey way back in Raigad in some Marathi school till 7th standard maybe, and then again to another Marathi school in Parel, and I did BSc also. I didn't do my engineering because I found engineering is 4 years and BSc is 3 years, so I can start my journey early. Of course, that was a bad choice, but still. And then I started into tech. So it was around I was in fifth or sixth standard, and I saw a computer in my uncle's office, and I was very fascinated with it. And the first thing I understood is maybe this is what I want to do rest of my life. I didn't know the sentence, but the emotion was there. The, that I will do whatever I need it takes to be in front of computer, and that become my hobby become my career. I didn't know that part, but that happened. So the first thing I want to create with you guys, like where you start doesn't matter. You may have, somebody may have a year back or something, whatever it is there, but if you are here today, you are perfect. And this start will like this is the best start one can think in terms of starting their IT career. So in our age, I think my college never had such interactions where industry expert came and interacted with us. There was not uh, access to internet, and even in internet, there was not much content like for what you want to learn and the passionate about. So you have a head start, right? Internet is there. I think you in your phone you have so many courses, and you're very fortunate to be in a classroom. That's this let's upgrade thing, where they are committed to give you MacBooks. They are committed to bring what is the latest tech. They are committed to keep you relevant. So after 4 years, when you complete your education, you will be most relevant peoples to hire, and that's the commitment I could see with the team. So couple of you can share. So what are your plans, or what made you come to join this course, or what you see yourself in 5 years, after 5 years? Yeah.
Like my main goal after 5 years is to like run a unicorn.
Run a unicorn, right?
It starts with a base idea. So
Yeah.
it's like with the ideation, I want to start the full stack development and
Correct.
in a very niche area. I want to start
Right.
where people are less.
Correct. So the reason of asking this question is it's very important to have a long-term goal. Okay, and that long-term goal is something. It's like the flag you will look at, and the advantage you get is there. Anything which is not taking you towards the goal becomes the distraction, and you can avoid that. So that's something which I did. I started my journey when I said the computer is something I want to do. Anything else that came was not that exciting to me. I can't say that I intentionally avoided it, but it was never so exciting. And that's how the effort got compounded. You all know what compounding is, right? So it's a say that people say, how many wonders are there here in the world right now? The eighth wonder is compounding. Compounding do give you magical results. So I'll give you a story. There was a thief got caught in it's a kingdom, right? But he was a very smart, and they brought him in front of the king, and they say, okay, what is the last wish, because we are going to kill you. So he said, okay, bring a chessboard and some rice, and the condition he kept is that you have to double the amount of rice grains you have on the next box, and once you complete that, you can kill me. So any idea how long he must have lived? Infinite, because even the world's rice grains together cannot complete the 64th that box, because it's compounds. So why long term and compound is two things we are using. If you stick to something for a long term, and that will give you compound results. So the seventh, eighth wonder we are talking about will work in your favor. So another thing about compounding is either it will work with magically with you, or it will hamper magically, because the scale is exponential. It's not the linear, right? You must have learned in mathematics. So that's first thing, a long term goal that you need to stick to. And the consistency. Okay, success is very boring. If you may have heard, Michael Phelps didn't skip workout for 5 years. Maybe it's Christmas, his birthday, family event, whatever. 5 years he didn't skip any workout for swimming, and you guys know how many goals he have, right? So that's how compounding works. So whatever your goal is right now, you must have came with some goal, right? You will not just के coffee पीने चलते, वैसे यहाँ तो कोई आया नहीं होगा, right? Everybody must have, your parent must have told you, they have invested some amount. Of course, right now they are the one who is supporting this, right, financially. So they must have something in their mind that my son, my daughter will come back with something after 4 years of this curriculum. So that's first point is consistency and long-term goal. So I started my journey, as I told you, in some Marathi school. But when I was in 12th, after 12th exam, the one thing I was sure I want to do something in the computers. Kya karna hai? I had no idea. So my uncle was a channel partner in a company called Netcore that sir mentioned, right? So it's a email service. Those days, email was a paid thing, which I think you all are Gen Z, right? So you must have never heard that email were a paid thing. So those days it was a Hotmail or something that's very, that were the startups. Like, the unicorns right now, right? The Byju's and all. For us, hero was Subir Bhatia. So Subir Bhatia was the one who sold Hotmail to Yahoo, I guess, or somebody. I think Yahoo. With 200 million. That were like, we were like flat. कि $200 million के लिए वेबसाइट बेच दिया. We didn't know कि उसके पीछे क्या क्या था. But those days, email was like we had to purchase, and Netcore was doing that for corporates. आज तक Gmail use करते हैं सब जगह पे, तो that's very small thing. So after 12th, next day exam, after my exam was Holi. So I played Holi, and I was in Netcore, fully colored, pink and silver, and maybe some more colors also. And I went there. The person who is now CEO of Netcore, he asked me one question. Do you know how to do a Google search? I said yes. And he gave me a machine with internet connection. And that's how my journey started. No idea. So just I want to sit in front of the computer was my goal. And then I started to come to know what they are doing. So they were creating a mail service, right? So right now you are using Gmail. So that mail transaction to happen, there are servers. For example, let's say ITM will have their own mail servers, जहाँ पे mail आते हैं and then get distributed. So they were into that business के install करना है. So I had nothing to do. So I started visiting clients and doing the installations. Because we were gamers, installation तो we knew it. We knew like 14 digit long serial key by heart. Anybody played CS on computers? A दबाएगा तो पूरा आता है, right? So that was my business also. I used to go on people's machine, install game, and put the serial key and make the game fully functional. And that's how I used to make 50 rupees, 80 rupees installation. So started that installations, and somehow I find it naturally, I'm picking up that part. And so I did that for like my 12th chutti. After that, they only called me after my graduation. So while I wasn't doing graduation, I was doing the calls. Like if there is a server not working or server is down, from college I'll go to client's place, do stuff and go home. So the point I'm trying to make is I was not getting a single penny. I was putting my money for travel. I was waiting there. Sometimes I will not have lunch because my money was put into cab or the bus fare. I used to like company called Excel, right? Excel group. I used to love to go there in the afternoon because they used to serve free lunch. So in my college days, I know I want to go to this client, I'll definitely go on the lunchtime, around lunchtime, so that I get a free lunch there. So the moral of the story is it's not every time that you should get driven by money or you get driven by something you get. You're passionate about learning, now there will be 100 avenues for you to learn. And if you're aware of thing, like how if I tell you, okay, uh, like I'm wearing a black hoodie, right? And I can start looking at it. He also wearing a black hoodie. He is also wearing a black hoodie, and I will say everybody is wearing a black hoodie today. It's not like that. No? There are people with other clothes also, but my eyes are now set up on finding something. So if you're not finding opportunities, means your eyes are not set on finding opportunities. So the moment you get into that zone, you will find opportunities everywhere. Like you all sitting together, you will find 10 different connections. Somebody's dad is doing something, somebody's they have parental business or something like that, and you guys do work for them. You make a small website or a small app, right? You start finding those opportunities, and those kind of opportunities will make you a real deal. And otherwise you're just a theoretical person, learned some coding techniques or some coding language you are good at, but how to convert that skill set to a problem solving skill, that's something you get paid for. You can't just say I have solved 3000 lead code problems, give me a job. Nobody will do that. Okay, you have to show how you will add value by doing that, how those 3000 lead code questions that you solved make you a more valuable person. So that's the perspective of solving lead code or whatever you're doing. Anybody doing lead code here? Hacker earth you're doing, right? So it's very critical, that you do that consistently. Normally, if anybody is good now, rank in hacker earth. My was very bad, by the way. And anybody doing CP, competitive programming? You're doing na sometimes. So that's again something you should start looking at. The opportunity is what I said. When you start looking at hacker rank or you start looking at CP, it's where you get into the game of being a better programmer or being a better problem solver. क्योंकि if else condition तो सब सीख लेंगे. To understand the complexity, how to understand how to make a solution more optimum is what you get paid for. You don't get paid for memorizing for loop and if conditions, right? So that's something you be very clear about. So I am doing hiring for last 6-7 years, and I saw people from VJTI also with 90% couldn't solve a problem, but very aware of the concepts. They are fully aware of the concept, but the problem solving ability was not there, which was with some normal college guy. So another thing about IT industry, it's not like that, okay, if you're not from the IITs or something, you won't get job. It's not like that, because IT neutralizes everybody, right? So for example, if you're a painter and you are from JJ School of Art, it makes a difference. Similarly, that thing is not in IT. If you can solve that problem in interview, you are good to go. So the point I wanted to address is consistency, right? And prior to that, what I addressed was uh, compounding, correct? So compounding is very critical as a developer, because you will be learning stuff like this. Lead code stuff will not help you as such in your exams, but when you are solve a real life problem, you will come to know why the FIFO and LIFO, what kind of difference does that make, right? So अभी conceptually समझ में नहीं आएगा कि FIFO में first in first out होता है, LIFO में, but where practically you can do that is something like if you want to solve a maze. Anybody tried that? If you want to solve a maze, so your depth first and breadth first search. That's the criticality. Like that's where the solution becomes more optimum. So if you have not done it, just give it a shot. Solving a maze. I think Python is also the part of your curriculum, right? So give it a shot with Python. Then you will come to know why stack is required and why heap is required, right? So that's how your approach completely changes. That's my story I shared. I'm sharing concepts with my story. Then I moved to that netcore thing where I was a Linux guy. Okay. And being a Linux guy, I was doing various systems of the mail server is something that we were doing. But I was lazy to do things again and again. So I started writing scripts, shell scripts. Anybody heard of shell scripts? Linux make you guys you can do, right? So it's called shell script. It's a very basic programming language where you type all these commands in your Linux terminal can be automated. So I started writing shell scripts. So there was a one migration thing. We had to translate 1,000 emails, mailboxes to another server, maybe a version upgrade or a hardware upgrade, right? So I wrote a script because I was lazy to do it again and again. And after the script started running, I was also writing a message, okay, user A completed, please check. That message was also automated. Then what I did, I got bored because that script would take another 3-4 hours. So I went into pantry, I started playing carom, and I asked folks to come and play with me because I had nothing to do. That's the only task I had for the day. And my manager saw me doing that and he got pissed. Okay, you are assigned to a very critical project and you are playing carom here. And he wanted to make that as a issue and wanted to make a complaint. And he took me to the CTO's office. And what CTO said, that guy is sitting there for entire day and he did a good job. So customer wants to thank him. So he wanted to make my complaint, but customer was saying, I want to thank him. The point I'm trying to make here is I would have sit there and do that thing myself. But I find a problem that I am facing and I solved it with the script. By the way, that script was then got more regularized and they created that script as a migration script. So any time the server is getting migrated, they will use my script. So the point I'm trying to make here is when do you get an opportunity of very tedious tasks, is the first time you have to think as a developer or as a programmer, okay, why I do this long and this many times. If you're okay doing that repeatedly, then you have to rethink whether you really want to be a programmer or not. Because the first trait of a programmer is to automate and make sure that things you don't do anything which is repeating. And even your organizations want to do that. For example, if I come to know a developer is doing something manually and repeating it, that become a red flag for us. Okay, this guy is not good for critical projects because he will create so many manual interventions that tomorrow if he is not there, we'll get stuck. Right? So that is something hiring managers want to look at you, that you create something which is so automated that it requires minimum human intervention. And again, this COVID hit, and not COVID. There was a recession in 2008. Anybody aware of that? Lehman Brothers and stuff. Yeah, subprime crisis. Yes. Okay. So they fired our developers, and now I got a chance to move to become a developer, which I was not earlier. So the point I'm trying to make: if things are going wrong, there is something can come for you. So I have a habit, if something is going wrong, I will say, okay, good, let's find what is that can help, because crying is very normal option, or bragging or saying I am the victim, that's normal thing. But you can find something, and that's where my life completely changed. If the 2008 thing wasn't there, I could have been still become a systems admin somewhere and monitoring different servers. Couldn't be where I am right now. So the point trying to make, in your life, in your 4 years also, there will be ups and downs continuously. And if ups and downs are happening, means you are doing something. Then only that will happen. If you are sitting at sofa and watching Netflix, nothing will go wrong with you. So the persistence is something, these 4 years you got to demonstrate to yourself, right? Okay, things will definitely not go your ways. And how you react to that, how you respond to that will define your career. So it's called the and then moment, right? So and then I found I'm a developer and I got into that stream. So setbacks are always welcome. If you think in your career you will never find setbacks, then sorry to disappoint you, that will happen. But how you can come back, okay, is the key. So till now, what I told you is about my journey. Anybody want, and I am more into building the new team, right? For the EVA, I was saying. So my intention here, okay, in this talks especially, is to make sure how you can be relevant after 4 years, right? 4 year only, na? When you're which year it is completing? 27, right? And we call in IT year is of 3 months. When it was Chat GPT one, anybody remembers? Right? How long it must have been? Right? So there's now Chat GPT 5 is also coming. There's DALI is also coming. Gemini is also coming. Right? So you know how easily we can be irrelevant. Anybody tried GenAI stuff? Python से scripts पे लिख के OpenAI. Sorry, Jason. हाँ. So there is something called OpenAI. Okay, give it a shot. You can get that key also, and so you can create your own extension. Anybody worked on Google? Git Copilot, GitHub Copilot. So let me give you that warning. GitHub Copilot is something, if you're writing a code, it will give you suggestions and it probably write a better code than human in next 2-3 years. So when you are getting out of this course, you have to make sure you are not only competing with humans, right? You are also competing with next level AI components. So imagine where Chat GPT is right now, okay? Post 4 years, like 2027, you have to compete with Chat GPT ka variant, or maybe there will be something else, right? So it's not human only you will be competing, right? In our times, we were very lucky that we are competing with humans, like the students that if you want to get a job. Here, like I am working on a project where it's a Gen AI driven project where my job is to reduce software development life cycle significantly using Gen AI. And all these big banks in US, they are reaching out to us how you can do that, okay? And that's what we are doing. So what we are doing is, so earlier the process was a business guy will create a BRD. Anybody know BRD? Business requirement document. They will, ये होना चाहिए, login करेगा, payment इतना होना चाहिए. And then somebody called BA, business analyst, will convert that into user stories that developers like you will pick up and code. And it used to take around 1 week for a average BRD to convert it into user stories. I am working on a project where I upload that BRD. That BRD using Gen AI then get pushed directly into Jira as a user stories, and that happens in 30 minutes max. The upload and the sync up. Imagine BAs will, how much relevancy they will have after 5 years. Like when, you understand how LLM work, right? So how GitHub Copilot is so good because it has access to all the Git repositories, right? So it's training continuously on the Git repositories. And open source contribution to the GitHub is increasing, it's not decreasing. The system will become more, it will learn more in 3 years. And how many hours in a day you learn here? That is learning 24/7 with so much computing power, right? So imagine whom you are competing with. So if you compete against it or the task it is automating, you will be irrelevant. So what you need to do is see where you can be relevant on what it is doing right now. So you can be a prompt engineer. Anybody heard of prompt engineering? Right? So that's something will make you relevant after 5 years. So spend your time and energy on that. Don't just spend your time and learning JavaScript and create a UI. That UI can be created in 3 minutes. There are so many things the demos are there. There is a whiteboard. You draw a box and a button and you click, it converts into a UI and it also converts into a source code. So see what you are learning and where how you are becoming irrelevant if you don't understand all this. Okay, so that's very critical point. Other point what I'm working on. So this is the first part of SDLC, your BRD to user stories. Second is your code, right? So GitHub Copilot or Amazon's Whisperer, right? Code Whisperer. That is writing huge logic in, let's say, a minute. Again, can I write or convert this logic into Python in the prompt? Do I need a Python developer there? Can I convert that Python into, let's say, Scala? So we don't need that awareness. Like you don't need to be expert in Scala to write Scala code anymore, right? So that's where again the relevancy thing I'm reiterating. So after doing that, the code is getting created. What developer is doing, just understanding whether this code was good enough to write or commit into the source code or need to be modified. So as a developers, what I look at, this is my personal opinion, developer will just use this GenAI tools to get a first cut of code and say whether this is good to go into the source code or not. So maker checker ho jayega. It's not like that you will write everything. So always keep in your mind that after 4 years, you may not require to write everything on your own, right? So that's a very critical something takeaway that you should take from today's this interaction, that GenAI, you have to be in the side of the GenAI, not like, that there is a driverless cars, right? So there, if you want to have a career in that field, become into that part, how cars are learning better driving. Don't go and learn driving, okay, because you will be irrelevant. In our time we used to say, how can that be possible कि car बिना driver के चल ही नहीं सकती, because we were trained to think in if and else, not in this Gen AI way of thinking or AI way of thinking. So to unlearn that, it took a time, but when we saw things happening, it's happening. So we are now know how AI and every organization like Meta, your Google, AWS, everybody is very focused on AI tools. The role of AI is to reduce repetitive stuff, right? And that's where we as a programmers will get the first hit and start. Figma, anybody know Figma, right? It creates Figma designs in a minute. Even your UI, what is the tool name of the tool? Mid Journey, right? Mid Journey, give it a shot tonight. Go through Mid Journey. It will create such a beautiful UI for your page that the designers, like somebody was thinking design, right? You have to see whether you want to do it on your own or you have to train yourself for Mid Journey's best uses. So if you're a designer and you know Mid Journey, then the dots will connect and you become more relevant. But if you say no, I will do create button on my own, it's a challenge, right? So Mid Journey is doing that. Dali is also doing similar. You can see that the big fakes and all, right? So do you anybody heard Narendra Modi singing? Yes. Right. So will we need singers as such? What a singer can do, he'll record his bass, whatever the model data required to train the model, and it will create songs in any language, right? Now singer is singing in one language, he's taking royalty, right? Royalty game, you understand? So this AI will take away the royalty part because that is not your creation alone. Anybody saw that Shah Rukh's ad where he was saying Dark Fantasy? And also there was earlier Diwali Wala. He used to take local shop's name, right? So that kind of imagine it's not a programmatically done. It's done through AI. So you will be competing in that scenarios. Like the design will be AI, code will be AI. How you as a developer right now take a path and be relevant at the end of your course. So that something is the key, you want to take away from today's interaction. So any questions, or I am just talking gibberish?
So people in these days are more keen towards doing certifications from different, institutions, and they have started to make it a commercial business. like giving certifications for a higher price or giving certification which is relevant for the industry.
Hmm.
As a recruiter, what does a certificate play a key part in recruiting or it doesn't?
So it's a subjective kind of a thing. I personally did many certifications. I did Red Hat, I did PHP, I did ethical hacking, some all that I did. But when I'm hiring, it's not a big deal. It's like if you're a cricketer and you came with your own bat, whether you can now score runs or not, it's a separate thing. That will come to know on the field. So it may give you advantage of being selected as a CV, right? But may or may not land you a job. I did all the certification because I wanted to have that as my personal thing. Like my philosophy is, if I learn something, I'll get that as a tagged on my CV forever as a certifications, and I don't need to tell everybody that I've done this also. Again, it's a good differentiator. If there are 10 CVs we are looking at, if a certification is there, it's easier to select him for the next round. But job guarantee, I don't think that is depend on the how you perform on that specific question on that interview. So yeah, but yeah,
So, like, how can you like perform better?
perform better. Okay, so let's say there are two folks, right? He came with certification and I came without certification. But I have done that in my previous projects. Okay, certification will only tell you that he is certified by that agency or whatever it is. But whether he will be able to solve problems is a secondary. You have a separate discussion.
Based on the skills.
So that's task. All I ask you a question. So that's the practice also, that what folks do is they get certified by somebody else doing that certification for them. So, and every uh, hiring manager knows that. So the first thing, if person is coming with certification, my first task is to validate whether that certification is actually done by him or he got somebody to represent him there. Yeah.
What do you think about the data scientist part in relevancy after 4 years in generative AI?
Data science is the source, right? Source. That's what making your Gen AI relevant. So if you're at the data science, definitely it's more relevant.
Is data scientist more relevant or data analyst? Because data analyst will be a job which is going to take over. Gen AI will take over data analyst as a job, but Gen AI won't be able to take data scientist as a job.
Yes, Pranat. That's see here now you have to see what matches you better, where you are more relevant to that thing. Of course, like we say, okay, AI will do that. But if you think, nay, I want to be a actual coding person only, and I know I'll do the task which are very niche, like a very that requires a lot of expertise, and I'll be there only. Then you may not be replaced by AI. The point is, if you're doing similar like that monotonous task, you will be replaced. So you have to see where you fit as a person, scientist or data analyst. Yeah. But if you're a scientist, you have to see whether that math, calculus, everything is you are naturally okay with it. If you're not, then you will be in very relevant job, but you may not be relevant to industry. Yeah.
So a person with a better problem solving capacity will have a better chance at getting a job than a person with better certification, right? But how do you determine if that person has good problem solving capacity within such a short amount of time when you're hiring?
Okay, that comes with experience. Okay, it's like I would have taken more than 1,000 interviews right now. So when you start with it, I'll give an assignment, and as I said, I'll not completely tell you all the edge cases or the scenarios. I want you to come back with your thought process. So that's the first point, because when I'm not giving the complete problem, that's a problem in itself. Okay, I have not shared all the steps. Whether you are identifying that as a problem and solving it, then it tells me, okay, this person has a better chances of getting selected. And if the person just did what I said, means he didn't identify the problem I hidden. Everybody can find a problem that's visible and solve. We want people who identify the problem. So problem solving is a very good skill if it combined with the identifying the problem skill. So you can't depend on your seniors to tell you what is the problem. When you identify problem yourself and you solve, it becomes more relevant skill, right? So that's where if you're a good problem solver, then it should reflect all the aspects.
So you took the example of design, like uh, how creative we are, or how we are like collaborating with mid journey. So it like basically results in outcome, a good outcome. So while hiring or recruiting, what you see both like most, the person's skills or his ability of their own, or his skills, but also collaborating with AI or any other tools like that. Like which part is most important or which is more favorable?
So it's again role based. There are some roles we want folks to do it themselves. Let's say in banking, right? It's a core banking application. I will not want anybody to create that code and copy and paste and make the bank suffer for millions of dollars losses. So that's a separate use case. Other use cases where you want to build a simple website, or this is a UI part. Okay, this has nothing to do with the core business logic. That can be created using AI. So in that scenarios, I want a person who is aware of how to validate stuff and how he is able to use his brain and connect the dots. Okay, this is what is required. Prompt is giving me this. How I can make a prompt? How can what else I can pass to prompt that this matches the most? So here I want that folk not to code himself, like write every line. But there can be some roles where I want boss, you want to write every line. Don't go and copy everything from AI. So these are two different roles. It's not a one silver bullet for everybody.
So, as developers, we all fear from the word called bench strength.
Yeah.
And mentioned is the haunting word for us. So, how do you think a person who's a new in market, who's just entered the market, instead of being a bench strength, he's an asset to the company?
So bench strength. So if you are, there are multiple ways why you can be on bench. Okay, if there are no projects, then that also make you sit on the bench. Or as an organization to have the contingency planning, we need some buffer steps, right? So it's not, if you're a good developer, I don't see any reason you will be on bench. Then you are in the wrong organization because they are not working on the merit. Right? If you're a good developer, you have the skill set to create value. I don't see any reason you to be on the strength. Then if the person is very it's good at his skill and it's very resourceful, then we have paid as is. Sometimes when you get hired, when you're leaving a job, there's something called your notice period, right? So it's a month or a 2 month depending on the organization, where you have to stay with the company. However, another company can buy out. So we'll pay your company X amount so that you can be relieved early. So we did that also. If the person is relevant, forget the bench strength. We hired him on his existing organization by paying extra money. Now it's not his salary. That's a separate. I buy out his notice period and get him on board and start the work. So bench strength for a good developer is something that organization need to learn. There is no reason for a Virat Kohli to sit on bench if he's performing his scoring runs, right? Similarly, yeah.
My question is, what do you think about CI/CD people and DevOps people? Since we have a lot of in this Gen AI world, since we have a lot of approaches for single problem and a lot of ways to write code.
So CI/CD, again, you will not build everything yourself. Right now, what we are doing, we are installing what like Jenkins, or we are doing something ourselves, creating a pipeline, and that is working. But slowly, it's also getting automated. Okay, that entire channel. If you so you guys using cloud Azure or AWS? AWS, no? So in Azure, there is something called Azure DevOps. Similarly, in AWS, there is similar stuff. So there you just configure the pipeline, okay? And you don't need to do everything. So the point I'm trying to make is, there will be DevOps configuration, but you don't need to be DevOps expert to configure that. Okay, anybody, any developer who understands it will just create that pipeline. From here it should go for testing, from here it should go for security, and here it should get deployed. So you don't need to be the expert of that, right? So CI/CD pipeline will be there. You might not to write everything on your own. Yes.
So, for example, if two people have the same resume or the same problem solving skills, are there any other factors which influence?
Yes, there are factors. For example, there can be n number of factors, right? We'll also see the CV, right? Who is hopping, who looks like more committed. Again, the salary aspect. If both are the same, then the one with low salary gets the priority. Sometimes it's a location based also. Okay, my client is in Mumbai. You are a very good resource, but you are not in Mumbai, and it's not possible for you to travel. Then I may take that choice. Sometimes it can be gender based, but that's the practice we avoid. But sometimes it is like if there are some organizations where it's huge amount of work to be delivered in some time, and with female resources sometimes it gets difficult. That's not the practice. We with work from home, that problem I think doesn't exist anymore. But yes, there are some rules on the floor, like priority 8, we want all female employees to not be in the office. That's a rule as per the company policy, but that's something with work from home, it doesn't make sense. But yes, your salary will matter, your experience will matter, how switch you did, that matter, whether you are from the same industry will matter. If two folks are there, one is already from banking, for me that become relevant, that I'll give him the banking. But one thing I want to you all to understand, the good jobs usually go to friends and family, always, right? You can experience that. If you have a smaller task at your house, you will try to give it to your friends and family first. So point I'm trying to make is, when you do internships and all, that's how you become friends, and that's why you become the first choice landing that job. So start networking, try visiting conferences. You can visit as a volunteer. Let's say it's a React India conference. If you visit as a volunteer, you can do some stuff. So band lagana hai, kuch stickers dene hai, something that can be there. You will do as a volunteer. You will get to hear that entire conference, so you get that knowledge. Also, you become friends to the industry experts, the guys who are already working as somewhere as hiring manager, and then you become family. तो नहीं बन सकते, but you can become friends, and that's where you get jobs. For me, every time my HR will say, sir reference दो ना, आपके reference के बंदे लेके आओ. तो मैं तो रास्ते पे खड़ा होकर नहीं चिल्लाऊंगा ना. I will just go to my people I know. I also get money if the person I recommend gets hired, okay, and he stays for 6 months. I'll get some money as a referral bonus. So again, point is, good jobs go to friends and family. So identify yourself where you become relevant by visiting conferences, by assisting in this kind of events, and doing internships, multiple internships. So you become known face or almost a friend to that people, and that's where you get land. This is what happened to me when I did my after my 12th. I was doing free ka Linux ka work there, and they wanted somebody to hire. That job came to me. So until now I never applied for a job. Something came to me, right? So always be so this. See, you are learning something, right? That needs to be presented or demonstrated to somebody. Then only you will get job. Nobody will come to. Of course, there will be a hiring drive here, but people there you will get a very limited time, and you will get to compete with everybody. So if you want a undue advantage, start doing as many internships as you can. Start doing free ka work to some NGOs where you want to make a website or you want to make something, and then you get the connects. So be friends and families to people who can land you a job. right? Because everybody will be competing for that one job. If even though like as an average, everybody's profile will look the same. When you are a referral, that's even getting hired in Meta or Google, you need to have a referral, right? You can't just say, okay, this is my CV. You need to contact somebody in Meta and or Google. They will give a referral of your, and then only you will get a job or a call. So you have to make, if you have a dream job at Meta, you have to start identifying who can refer you in Meta. So you may find those people in any conferences. You make you interact on LinkedIn or Twitter, and then you ask for a referral. Well, I think many of you will have that FANG. Now, what is a FANG now? Mang. So if you want to land a job in FANG or Mang, you need to have those contacts, right? So yes, so being relevant is something you have to take more seriously. For us, I think we were very blessed. कोई AI वे नहीं था, ना कोई internet था. Okay, everybody was learning at home and something. So nobody had a due advantage. सबका ये था, same था. Thing that changed the world was press, right? When the press came, the course of history or humanity changed to completely different thing. Then the next was industrialization, right? Post-industrialization, human race went to a different direction. Then there came the internet era. After internet era, things like humanity took a different direction altogether. I personally think AI is another thing that is as impactful as internet. How many of you see internet have impacted everywhere? Like, and India is one of the countries where the internet penetration is highest, right? So we are more adaptive to technology. So the way internet has changed lives in India, I don't remember earlier those many tech startups were in India. But now we know we are a 1.7 billion consumption country, and everybody has internet almost. Okay, or next 5 years, everybody will have internet access. So anything that can be sold on internet, will be a big thing in India. And according that, similarly, internet changed the way world works. I personally think AI will also change the world AI works. So if you must have heard that they have trained a model by looking at the X-ray, it can predict whether you have a cancer or not. Imagine the person can get a prediction of having cancer, and they can start looking at that aspect. Normally, why people suffer fatal results in cancer, because they came to know it very later stage. Imagine here is not even stage. It's stating your probable cause of you have a cancer. And imagine that kind of scenario where we are going. Like you see driverless cars already. So that's why what human will do, human will create, which is something copyrightable. I know this content is cringe, what is happening, but that's created by human, right? So that's where they make money in that side. But if you are creating something which can be created by a machine, like coding right now, you will be on the other side of the AI. So anybody worked on OpenAI? I'll suggest you guys can do that. So I made a VS Code extension. That extension, if you give a comment, will connect to OpenAI, fetch code and show in your file. And that's how it saves a lot of time. And that's what we are trying to sell to the other organization, how much time we are saving. Okay, one thing I forgot. So anybody knows testing, QA and all? किसी को career नहीं करना है? हाँ. Right. So we write test cases, right? As a QA, the day one of you understand sprints, right? Okay, the sprint may first day, developers will do whatever they want to build next, but QAs will create the test cases. Okay, login should work, with this should get error, with if I write 7 letter, it should give me X error, something like that. So our team made it in 3 to 4 days, QA team, and as an experiment we created AI tool for that, to convert that BRD into test cases, it was 80% of what that team already the team made. So the human value add was only 20%. So this is how the test cases and automation will also be taken away by the AI part. So that's the crux, the relevancy. You need to work on your craft, because without knowing programming, you can't even be in AI. You will never understand what that is prompting to you. So you got to know your craft, but also you got to know what is taking away your craft from you, and you have to be on that side. If you say, okay, I know many people say, okay, it will not work like that in AI. AI nahi kar payega. But I think nobody has that courage to say now. We are seeing everything right now, right? So go in that direction. Make sure you are not just learning this. Work on your craft. And one more thing I want to create with this generation especially, that you have many avenues to get distracted, like your phone. That's the biggest distraction, I think. You are getting all the everybody know dopamine kya hota hai, right? The dopamine ka source is now phone, right? And that's what the addiction is all about. So I remember there was a time I will pick up my phone and check without it ringing, without it blinking, just subconsciously I'll check. And now I'm aware कि मैं subconsciously check कर रहा हूँ. I think for many years I was just doing that without knowing I'm doing it, and it takes away a lot of your time. It takes a lot of your can't get the compounding impact if you're so getting distracted so frequently. So these 3-4 years, I know everybody want to look cool on social media. I know some people live a life like that to look cool on social media, but you also make sure that when you are working or when you are studying, you're not getting distracted. There is one tip from my side. There's something called Pomodoro technique.
Yes.
Right? So that's something I also use. I have that clock. I'll set it on 20 minutes. For 20 minutes, I'm disconnected. I will not answer, because nothing will go down if you're not on your phone for 20 minutes. And after that, you have 5 minutes of interactions, right? So make sure that, because when there is no charges on any service like social media or Facebook or Instagram, if we are not paying, means we are the customers. Somebody is selling us because they need to make money, right? If they are not taking from us, whom they are taking from? They are taking from the others who want to promote or their stuff or marketing stuff. So that is where you will lose against AI, because AI have no distractions. Once you start learning it, the model, it will learn for infinite time. And we as a human, I think 20 minutes का straight focus भी हम नहीं कर पाते. मैं तो नहीं कर पाता. I don't know about you guys, but I will not be in a focused mode, fully focused mode for more than 10-15 minutes. 10-15 minutes बहुत ज़्यादा बोल दिया मैंने, right? Huh? 7 minutes. Right? We can't be more focused than that, and AI is infinitely focused. So imagine after 5 years with so many distractions, where we will be and where AI will be. Yeah, so the thing I want to conclude with is how you can become relevant. Not only in this group, you are also competing with AI outside. Now to become relevant for a job, you have to do things more than what we had to do in order to be relevant, right? Of course, certifications are not bad. If somebody is thinking certifications, go for it. It's an investment on yourself. Once you are certified with something, nobody can deny that you knew that, right? It's a different thing on the, let's say, day of interview, but it will always be with you. So something you have learned, you did some GenAI course, okay, get certified. With GenAI, I think you should get certified, because that's the happening thing around. If you say कि मैं Azure certificate लेके आया हूँ, people will हाँ ठीक है, because it's a common thing right now. But if you are doing with GenAI and all, and you want to get certified with something, but if this is the right time to jump into that, because rest will take time, right? And I'll give you an example. So when you want to buy a property, घर वर लेना है, you should always buy where it's difficult to reach. So when I bought in Mansarovar, the station was not there. So we had to get down Khandeshwar and come back, right? And the property then, when the station was there, it boomed, right? That's how I see whether I want to invest or not. I will not go and invest in Ulve now, because there's a train is already reached, there is metro thing also, connection is there, so the appreciation is gone. Similarly thing reflect in IT. If you want to do in you want to become a DevOps engineer, there are tons of DevOps engineer right now available, because everybody knows about it and you know how to approach it. But with JNI, you don't know where to start, right? And if you find something you know where to start, this means it's not readily available for everybody. So those who get into it will only get the advantage, the first mover advantage. So if you want to have any JNI stuff, go for it, or any LLM or any machine learning or data science, you should invest in that. And open source is something you should keep an eye on. There's a lot of learning. Like if you want to improve your coding standards, start contributing to open source, or at least start reviewing their code. You will see some are very celebrated programmers like Ken Dodds, right, for React. There are some other folks who are like, if you see in the conference room, everybody will be like, "Ye kon rockstar aa gaya," right? So programming, in the programming universe, they are like heroes. So you will get to learn a lot. Any questions that you want to address?
Do you think that after 4 years, Gen AI will go down? Not go down as a job, but we won't be able to do Gen AI after 4 years because it will already be more than full in these 4 years.
No, it's not like that. See, for example, this car, right? The ADAS, it's ADAS only, bolte na? What it's called? ADAS. So right now it's functional only in those two lines. So you can say it's a driverless car, but it totally depends on these two lines. Somebody will be thinking how I can get out of it. Okay, how on the regular, like Tesla is claiming that, okay, they can run without that two lines. So something more will always be there, right? So Gen AI, right now you're creating code, but there is a interlinking you need to be done, right? Maybe they want, okay, you just draw it on a paper and it gets uploaded. That can happen. Sure.
How long do you think Gen AI will take time to integrate into those systems?
Integrate to system for what?
So the ones like you said, for driverless cars, if there's like it functions on basically those two
lines, right?
But how long do you think Gen AI in general will figure all of this out?
So Gen AI works on compounding. Okay. So Tesla is more of a data company. Do you believe that?
Yes, sir.
It's not a thing. It's generating so much data and training its own model into various things. And it's also seeing where people are traveling, which restaurants they are going on, what times. So that entire data, when it trained itself, okay, it will become more powerful. It will be able to do stuff that we even can't imagine right now. So I don't know about the time. It may take 3 years, 4 years, but we can't deny, okay, it will not happen. It will definitely happen, but we want that to happen a little late so that we can catch up. Otherwise, we'll be the user of that thing instead of the creator, right?
Also, can you explain compounding?
Okay, compounding is simple interest. So every month you will get interest on the base amount only. Okay, let's say you invested 10,000 rupees, and for example, yearly you will get 10%. So how much you will get every year? 10% of 10,000, right? So every time you will get 10% of 10,000 only. But in compound interest, what happens? You first year you will get 10,000 and the interest of the 10,000, right? Second year, your interest will be 10,000 plus the interest you made in the first year. And that's how every time that sum, the interest you will get is not on 10,000. Addition of that, whatever interest kept coming. So it's like it's self-feeding thing, and so your amount gets increased and your interest will be on that increased amount every time. So if you put money in normal way or normal compounding, normal interest rate versus compounding rate, initially you will not find a difference. But after, let's say, 10-15 years, you will see linear versus exponential. Because that exponential is something will create a big thing. Right now for AI, I think We are at the early stage. If that exponential thing hits and we are not there, we might miss the bus.
Also, Gen AI is supposed to grow exponentially.
Because it's self-feeding, na? The way we add that interest. So every time you are writing a new repository or AI writing a code, then again get feeds to AI. So it become that channel where everything is self-learning and the compounding interest will be there. For example, let's say these driverless cars are driving, right? So they are also capturing the data and then feeding to the model again. And that's how the compounding way it will get much better as the time pass. Yeah, compounding is something one must learn as early as possible. For example, where you invest at this state, even the financial part in your life, if you invest something right now as a compounding, and you, let's say 10 years down the line, you will be amazed to what that amount will grow. So anybody know Tony Robbins? Tony Robbins have this example. I forgot those numbers, but just go through it. You are that age where compounding is at fully favoring you. If I start investing right now and I invest 10 times more than what you will invest right now, at the let's say 15 years down the line, you will make 100 times more than what I'll make, even after putting 10 times more than what you put. So yes, that's it.
So how do we start contributing to open source communities and how do we find projects?
So first of all, you will understand the tech stack you are interested in. Okay, let's say you want to contribute in JavaScript. Then you can search with the tech, you can search repositories or projects, and there is an option of selecting a technology. So let's say you put JavaScript, you got 100 repositories. Of course, there can be a React.js contribution also, but you may not want to start with that. You will see some repository or let's say component library built in JavaScript, which may have, let's say, 1000 star only. And if you go into that repository and you go to issues, you will see a lot of issues, and there is a specific tag that entire open source community follows. Good first issues, I think. Good first issue. Go to that good first issue and see whether you can solve that. And if you can solve that and you do a PR. So that's a process how open source works. You solve something, you create a PR, and the contributors or these maintainers of that open source, if they approve that and they make the source code, that part of the source code, that's your first open source contribution. And then you will be mentioned as a contributor to that source code. This is how you start, and when you become proficient, like you know anything in and out, you can go and write